Good morning. Kent Hovind here. Let's finish up with some more questions before all the grandkids come over and life really gets hectic around here. What a blessing that is. They watched a movie. I watched part of it with them last night. Something about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. There are multiple levels of dumb in the world, and that has to be down on one of the lower levels. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles with a rat or something. I don't know. Anyway, I enjoy being with the grandkids, but I have different tastes in videos, I guess. Okay, question time. This is session number 2 of just miscellaneous questions, and I'm sorry. I'm answering questions from July 30th. What am I, 15 days behind? Sorry about that. This one from Derek. Brother Hovind, this is your friendly, independent, temperamental, fundamental, right-wing, radical, Bible-believing, Canadian Baptist brother, Derek. Amen. Sounds like me, same stripe. Okay. Of course, none of the Baptists are exactly the same stripe. They can always find something to disagree and argue about. That's never a question. Okay. Like, if they agree on everything else, then they'll disagree on how the tie should be tied. Is it single Windsor or double Windsor? Oh, yeah, now there's something to split the church over. Morons. Okay. I'm very grateful for you. You've had a wonderful influence on my life, and I consider you family. That said, it is with great fear and trepidation that I must respectfully differ with you on one issue of the rapture. Well, now, you don't need to have any fear or trepidation. I can disagree without being disagreeable. Talk about anything. I hope I've developed the ability to maintain a sweet Christ-like spirit in the middle of a discussion. Hope so. Anyway, so Derek, any questions? Fair game. Just like you love Henry Morris and sell his Defender's Bible and highly recommend it, but put a disclaimer with it because there's a few things you disagree with him, I highly recommend you and your creation evolution videos, but here's where I put a disclaimer and disagree with you. By the way, I called you the other day and we spoke on the phone about this briefly, but I did not do a good job explaining. I think you have the 2300 days in Daniel 8, 13, and 14 starting at the wrong place. Okay, before I finish your question, let me explain what I teach. The 2300 days is right there. That time of desolation is mentioned in Daniel 8, 13, and 14, like you mentioned here. I have it starting in the middle of the tribulation, in the middle of the 70th week of Daniel, and extending beyond for an extra 1,040 days. And you think that starting point is somewhere else. Okay, let me see what you say here. A careful and slow reading of Daniel 8, 13, and 14 shows this is a question of how long will be the period where the animal sacrifices are going on and the period of abomination of desolation. How long will they both last? One angel asked the other one, how long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation? And the angel answered 2,300 days, approximately 6.3 years. So if we understand this correctly, the animal sacrifice and abomination of desolation is 2,300 days. This 7-year period will begin with the confirming of a covenant. Okay, so you want to start the 2,300 days here. I'm sorry. Yeah, when the covenant is confirmed, which would put it ending before the 70th week is over. Okay, and you got a chart here about that. And thank you so much. I love visuals. I'm a visual learner. Most men are, if they're learners at all. I've met some. You can't teach them in any method. They can't learn visually, audio. They don't get it, no matter how you try. So that's another story. Okay. If we understand this correctly, the animal sacrifices and abomination of desolation combined last 2,300 days. This 7-year period would begin with the confirming of a covenant. Then around 8 or 9 months later, animal sacrifice will begin in the rebuilt temple. I agree. Once they make the covenant, the treaty to rebuild, Daniel 9:27, it's going to take them some time to build the temple. Who knows how long, a year or two, I don't know. In the middle of that 70th week, the treaty is broken. I think we would all agree on that. And he desolates the temple, the abomination of desolation. Now, you want to start it earlier. I think we'll have a hard time with that. I'll finish your question. Would you please explain that? Okay. Let's see, why do you have the 2,300 days beginning at the abomination of desolation? Okay, let's go back and look at Daniel chapter 8, verse number, we should read the whole chapter, but for sake of time here, start with verse 10. 9. Do I hear an 8? No, 9. And out of one of them came forth a little horn. This is called the little horn prophecy, which I think most people, even if they argue about other stuff, would agree this is the Antichrist, okay, the one who's against Christ. Satan in the flesh is the most likely answer to that. The little horn, which waxed exceeding great, toward the south, toward the east, and toward the pleasant land. My theory on that, this little horn, he conquers 3 countries. I think it's going to be somebody probably from Syria or Babylon or Iraq. And he conquers the country to the south, let's see, what's the first? To the south, the east, and toward the pleasant land. Hovind theory. He's going to conquer the one to the south and to the east, being Lebanon, and toward the pleasant land, which is probably Israel, referring to just my thoughts on the topic. Verse 10. And it waxed great even to the host of heaven, and it cast down some of the host and of the stars to the ground, and stamped upon them. Yea, he magnified himself even to the prince of the host, and by him the daily sacrifice was taken away, and the place of his sanctuary was cast down. And an host was given him against the daily sacrifice by reason of transgression, and it cast down the truth to the ground, and it practiced and prospered. Then I heard one saint speaking, and another saint said unto that certain saint which spake, How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? I understand your point, I think, completely. Verse number 14. And he said unto me, Unto 2,300 days, then shall the sanctuary be cleansed. And it came to pass, when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then there stood before me, and it goes on to the explanation of the thing here. So you're saying that the daily sacrifice and the desolation, but look back at verse 13. How long shall be the vision concerning the daily sacrifice and the transgression of desolation, to give both the sanctuary and the host to be trodden under foot? Now wait a minute. The sanctuary is not trodden under foot here. It doesn't get trodden underfoot until after the treaty is broken. So you have to start the 2,300 days here, not back there. I think I understand what you're saying, and I think I disagree. Because it's the sanctuaries, they're doing the sacrifices, but the sanctuary is not trodden underfoot until the middle. Anyway, as I travel around in the next, by the way, I'm going to start traveling again. I got to soon. If your church wants me to come, I'll be glad to come. I can travel now in the United States, and so I'll start booking meetings. I've been home 35 days and ready to get going again. So anyway, as I travel, we'll have Q&A time. Maybe we can hash all this out. And I'm very willing to question anything, I believe, at any time, and willing to change, in spite of what my wife will tell you. Yeah, so I still remain convinced it starts here because it's the trampling underfoot. But we will hash all that out. Okay, let me finish this here. Okay, would you please explain that? I think I did. I subscribe to the pre-trib rapture theory, and the 8 or 9 month period of time may serve when Gog and Magog war takes place, or maybe it takes place in the period of time after the rapture and before the 7-year covenant. Part of the problem is everybody's always trying to get everything into the 7 years. I don't think that's logical. The day of the Lord is totally separate from all of this, from the 70th week of Daniel. The day of the Lord does not overlap it. The day of the Lord comes after the sun and the moon go dark. The sun and the moon go dark after the tribulation. We covered all that in previous broadcasts, but read Joel mentions the sun and the moon going dark 3 times. Matthew 24, Mark 13, and Luke 21, near the end of that passage we cover in my book, all talk about that sun and the moon going dark. Where did I put that? Here we go. And so, then it says, after the tribulation, the sun and the moon go dark. I think that's obvious. And then Acts chapter 2, verse 20 says, before the day of the Lord is when the sun and the moon go dark. So in Matthew 24, it's found down in verse 28, 9, 30, etc. In Mark 13, it's found down in verse 24, 5, 6, 7. In Luke 21, it's found in verse 25, 26, 27, 28. But I think it's real clear that the sun and the moon go dark after the tribulation. And Acts 2:20, which refers back to Joel, the sun and the moon go dark before the day of the Lord, and we know the wrath of God falls in the day of the Lord. I can't get it to fit any other way, like a big Sudoku puzzle. So I will consider what you did on first and second consideration. I have to say, no, I disagree. I think I still have it right here. Okay, anyway, Canadian, eh? Come on down, brother. We'll visit and talk about it. Let's see. I attached a picture of the email for the proper reading. What you think is the proper reading of the 2300 days. And thank you. I appreciate the picture. And I got it, looked it over, and said, okay, well, the problem is I don't think it fits the verse right before that. Okay, Gug, G-U-G. Now, there's an interesting name, Gug. Says, Dr. Hovind, I'm glad to see you out and free and moving so fast to get back in the fight. I'm a software developer from Western Romania. Oh, there. I've only been to Romania once. Loved it. You could tell it was a really lovely country before the communists got a hold of it and ruined everything. But praise God. And there's some folks over there that love the Lord. Poke them for me and tell them hi and tell them get to work. There's plenty to do over there. Okay. It says, I'm a software developer from Western Romania, on whom you've had a huge impact. I think you're underestimating a little the impact of YouTube and how big the internet got in the last 10 years. No doubt about it, Gug. I have no idea where all this goes. Pretty soon you'll probably not be able to respond to questions as they will overwhelm you soon. Well, that already happened. Let's see. Hannah hasn't even sent me any for a week, and I'm overwhelmed might be a strong term, but definitely plenty busy. I mean, okay. You and your seminars are the base of my return to biblical truths and biblical accuracy. I was always a Christian, but being influenced in school by the former communist propaganda, consider that nobody had time to rewrite all the school manuals. And they won't. Okay, they're going to keep that evolution lie in there, even if nobody believes it, they'll keep it in there. You're not going to get that out of the book. So I think we should try. But I tell people you can't kill every virus and bacteria in the world, but you get your kids' immune system up where that doesn't affect them. You can't stop all the propaganda on TV and textbooks and museums and science centers. They're pushing this stupid evolution religion on all sides, and you're probably not going to be able to stop it. So vaccinate your kid. Get them where they don't believe it. My kids and grandkids, they can walk in these museums and look at that and, look at that, that's stupid. They can see it when they're 8 years old. You vaccinate them. Get them where they see the truth. Let's see. Anyway, I'm glad, and I understand about the communist propaganda over there. Communism is based on this crazy evolution theory. I cover that in video number 5 of my seminar series, which you can get on creationtoday.org and 2peter3.com, I think. I don't know if he's got that up and running yet or not. I was raised with evolution and billions of years magic stuff happening that supposedly created and organized things out of nothing. If evolution were true, I would not have a job. Software would be writing itself just by shaking hard drives. Good illustration, Jug. I'm going to use that one. I love it. Software write itself. Okay. I've been following the creation science movement since I discovered your seminars and wanted to ask you about some topics. I'm trying to be as broad as possible so that my questions are useful to as many people as possible. I've noticed that in the last 10 years, a lot of your arguments have been proven right, and you probably don't know it yet. Okay, well, good. Number 1, do you know, and what do you think about Chuck Missler? He's a very smart young earth creationist. He's helped me on a lot of topics. Chuck is a good friend of mine. I have spoken at several conferences with him, took an Israel tour with him. He's a genius guy, like one of the smartest guys I've ever met. Loves the Lord, great guy to be around. We had a blast. So yes, I know Chuck Missler. Doesn't mean I agree with him on everything. The things that he agrees with me with, he's right about. Okay, let's see. He, for example, has a seminar where he explains that if it had been proven that it's been proven that light is not a constant, and it is slowing down. I've heard you several times in your videos say that light may not be a constant, that maybe it's slowing down, it seems. Here's a short clip about it, and you give a YouTube clip. I'll have to type all those numbers in. 8-minute video. Okay. It was probably much faster when God stretched the heavens. He has a great video on that too. I've not seen that. I'd like to. I know the Bible says at least 11 times that God stretched out the heavens, a lot of them in Isaiah. the passage is, but you can get a concordance and look up the word stretched. By the way, with the concordance, I use concordance all the time. Don't believe the stuff in the back about the Hebrew and Greek meaning. Don't fall for that. I mean, it may or may not be true. I'm not saying it's all false. I'm just saying it's not all true. There's a big difference. He proves that time is not constant and all that. I agree. We, as human beings, are locked in time, and a year takes a year for us. I don't think time or space or matter govern God. He governs them. He's outside of time, space, matter. We're the ones that are stuck in time, space, matter, not God. So, yeah. Anyway, time is not constant. As far as, I'll finish your question in a minute. As far as the speed of light being a constant, or even radioactive decay, I finally got some of my property. Still did not get the main box of books from the last prison I was at. I have property scattered all over the BOP. If you work for the BOP, tell them, send it 29 Cummings, please. I'm ready for it. Okay, it's been 9 years. I would like it. No, all my property. Anyway, there's a great book, God Created the Earth, by Eric Baxter and Edward Boudreau. This book is pretty harder to read than entry-level creationism stuff, but it's got great stuff on how that intense magnetic field, intense pressure, intense temperature can all greatly affect and accelerate radioactive decay. Let's see, these guys have a website in here, 2012 edition. If you want to get this book, it's Rocky Mountain Creation Fellowship, Post Office Box 3451, Littleton, Colorado, 80161. But this is one of the interesting things I read when they sent it to me a couple of years ago. You can't say this, you can't look at the radioactive elements in anything and say you can prove the age of it. Carbon dating, potassium argon, rubidium, strontium, all of the dating methods are based on the obvious assumption that the decay rate has remained constant all through time and in space. It's just not logical. So if you want to really go down deep, stay down long, come up dry answer to that question, there's their book right there. God Created the Earth. Not a very big book, but take you a while to read through that one. Okay. How did we get off on that? Let's see. Oh, time being a constant. Yeah. For me, I'm reading the rest of your question here. Chuck Missler's seminars continued what you started, and since he's a computer guy, maybe I resonate with him better. Could be. He has the same views and beliefs as you and me about mid-trib, young Earth, the flood, and especially on the controversial UFO subject and the coming deception. Well, good. I don't know what Chuck believes about the tribulation, but if he agrees with me, he's right. I can see my wife now. Oh, brother, here we go. All right. For example, a mathematical way to prove that the Bible was written by someone outside of time. This is a 13-minute video by Chuck Missler. I have to watch that. And that the Word is more than just words on a page. Chuck is genius at bringing stuff out like that, you know. This is more than just words on a page. Some information, right? It's not just ink on paper. It's much more than that. Okay, Noah's Ark was a very interesting structure from a mathematical point of view. It was unturnable. I agree. The Navy did a study on what is the most stable configuration of a ship, the width to length ratio. How wide should it be compared to the length? And they said it's not the fastest, but it's the most stable to go 6 to 1, 6 times longer than the width. Whatever your width is, times 6 should be your length. And all the Liberty ships were built, or most of them, for both wars, I think, World War I and World War II, called the Liberty ships, were built to the 6 to 1 ratio. Read Genesis chapter 6 and read about Noah's Ark, and it's 6 to 1 ratio. You'd almost think God knew some math and some, science if you didn't know any better, or didn't have a prejudice against him. Okay, number 2. I heard you on one of your recent videos saying the Crusades was something very bad that happened because the Pope wanted Jerusalem for some reason. Well, that's probably true. The Crusades were also a retaliation and pushback of Islam. I know that because in my country, which should be Romania, we were attacked by the Ottoman Empire several times. Sometimes we won, sometimes we lost. And we had to pay the Islamic tax because we would not convert. Yes, Romania was really the buffer zone for stopping Islam advancing into Europe. And thank you for that. If it wasn't for the Crusades, I admit there were people who robbed and followed their own interest and profited, as in any war. I don't see it as a holy war at all, nor do I make any excuse for killing innocent people, Muslim or of any other religion. Europe would have been Islamic, and probably America too, since it was colonized by Europeans. You are correct. Historically, just like most of South America is Catholic because they got there first. Most of the world would have been Muslim had you guys not stopped them back hundreds of years ago. And the Crusades, you're right, the Crusades, multiple reasons behind any war, but one of them was the Pope wanted Jerusalem back. And I tell you what, Chick.com, Jack Chick, there's a great comic book that they sell there called The Prophet that deals with this question. Okay, excuse me. I have to get a little sleep here one of these days. Where did I leave off here? Oh, okay. The Turks would simply burn down entire villages if they would not convert and take the young boys to be soldiers and the young girls to be wives. It went on for hundreds of years before the Crusades, but modern history conveniently ignores that. Islam is the only religion so far that has spread only by force. Convert, pay, or die. Well, it is not over. Okay, they're still doing it. And of course, in any argument with an atheist, I get the Crusades thrown in my face. That's why I studied it a little deeper. Good. And of course, being from Romania, this is more of an interest to you than it would be to somebody here in America. I recommend any Christian to study it deeper, since it's a very common thing to argue about with atheists, it seems. Question number 3. What do you think about the recent rise of Islam in the world? For example, in Europe, it's becoming a bigger and bigger problem. It's estimated in one generation they'll be able to take over easily, being in higher numbers than Europeans. Europeans have 1 child or less, while Muslims have easily 5 to 10. Even in Romania, the Turkish government will pay by itself for building the largest mosque in Eastern Europe, while completely denying a Christian church to be built in Turkey. How convenient is that? You're right, it's hypocritical. Anybody can see that. And I think all of our politicians running for office need to be really up to speed on what do we do with the Muslim problem. Are we as Christians underestimating their rise? Probably so. Yes, brother. In an apocalypse, it seems very specific that Christians will be beheaded, which is very specific punishment for non-Muslims in an Islamic religion. That's correct. It's happening. It's happened in America already, the beheading, and it's certainly happening around the world. My son-in-law, Paul, was telling me last night about some YouTube or video on here about the Navy SEALs took out, they were about to behead somebody, and the Navy SEALs sniper took them out a mile away. That's a long shot. 2 of them, apparently. I haven't seen the video or heard. That's all I heard about secondhand. Okay. Number 2, they do wear a sign in their head or hand which pledges their alliance to Islam. Should they take over, they can become very zealous about it and not allow anybody who doesn't wear it to be able to do business. It's not uncommon in their territories. That's correct. I wish Christians would have that same dedication. I mean, not to go out and kill people, but just to really honestly act out what they believe. I disagree with the Muslims on 1,000 things. However, their zeal for their cause is commendable, even though their zeal is misguided and wrong. But Christians ought to be zealous to get the gospel out for the Lord. It's like Jehovah's Witnesses. They come by, knock on the door here the other day. They said, man, I appreciate your zeal. Now, you're wrong on just about everything, except you do have round tires on your car. I think we probably could agree on that. That's probably where it would stop. Okay, anyway, let's see. 3rd, the Antichrist, the son of perdition, is also called the Assyrian, which is currently being taken over by ISIS. Correct. That's why I think probably the Antichrist will come from either Syria, the former Assyrian Empire, Babylon, right near there somewhere. We'll see. Let's see. I don't know how much you know about President Obama. I do not believe he's the Antichrist. However, he seems to be helping the jihad agenda, incredibly aggressive, and Islam is becoming an international force that I never would have thought. I agree. President Obama is president of what exactly is he the president of? The real original United States or the corporation named United States, of which I think there are 7 corporations named United States. So you don't have to be a natural-born citizen to be a president of the corporation. That's another long story. You go chase that rabbit as far as you'd like. Okay. Did you know that part of Iran deal with the U.S. is that U.S. troops will protect Iran's centrifuges in case Israel would want to attack them? I did not know that, but I would believe that. That would be easy to believe. Israel is a little nervous about Iran getting the nuclear bomb. If I watched my neighbor building a cannon, and I said, hey, what are you doing? He said, well, as soon as I get this done, I'm going to shoot your house with you in it and kill you. I would be a little concerned about his progress on the cannon. I think Iran has already specified what they're going to do once they get a nuclear bomb. And I think Israel has every right to defend themselves. They don't have to wait until they're attacked either. Now, I don't agree with Israel on very many things. They're not a godly country for sure, but they're God's people. Doesn't mean we pay for all their groceries, but we certainly don't go against them. Read Genesis chapter 12. Okay. There are a lot more arguments of things, but I know there are other people waiting. A Romanian pastor said recently that God told him in a vision that Europe has only 2 choices, Jesus or Mohammed. And the evolution, atheism, gay, secular agenda is a distraction, a waste of time. And they will have no real say in history soon. You may be right, they're a distraction from bigger issues. That doesn't mean they're a complete distraction, but there are bigger issues, you're right. And 2 choices, it is going to be Jesus or Muhammad for many in Europe. It's already that way in some countries. You might have to start debating whether God or Allah created the universe, not evolution. Well, God and Allah are not the same, that's for sure. I mean, the Muslims are real proud of that thing around their Mosque of Omar in Jerusalem. It says, Allah has no son, Allah has no son. And Jesus is the Son of God. I mean, that's real clear from Scripture. So, no, Allah and God are not the same. There's a booklet by, I forget the guy's name, a former Muslim called Who Is This Allah? And Jack Chick's ministry sells that too. I encourage you to get that. Question 4. And I got to hurry here. I know a lot of people asked about the Ken Ham debate. I think it was a disaster. Ken Ham's an amazing guy, and I appreciate him a lot, but he did not have to answer questions. He did not have answers to questions I knew from your seminars, really basic questions. I only watched the debate once, and I thought it was good. I wished many times I could have debated Bill Nye and have a standing offer. I'll debate him any day, any time. Yes, I think Ken did a good job. I think he tried to be a little too polite, and I'd have taken the gloves off with Bill Nye. I hate the fact that he's ruining the thinking of many kids when it comes to pretending to be science and using it for evolution. Evolution's got nothing to do with science. It's a religion. He's got it mixed in with his science, and he's got a lot of good science experience, cool stuff. But that doesn't mean his evolution religion is true. Anyway, yes, I'd love to debate Bill. I think the only reason that Bill Nye accepted the debate was because he knew that. Now, that I don't know. Can't confirm nor deny. Let's see. The only reason he would not accept a debate with you or somebody like Chuck Missler is because he knows he will be destroyed and does not want to make any free publicity for the creation movement. That may be why he won't do it. I don't know. What's that noise the chicken makes? Okay. At the end, in the end, sorry for the long email. I understand you won't have time to answer right away. God bless you and your ministry, what you're doing. I noticed, keep in mind I have watched every possible material of yours available, that you are a changed man, much wiser and calmer. Oh, wow, thank you. I don't know about that. And I think God used something that was supposed to destroy you. He used it to better you. Well, thank you. Appreciate that. I hope it did. I hope this last 9 years of completely unjust incarceration has improved and helped. And I hope it has. Thank you, brother. Appreciate that. Let's see. Did I throw away the page before? I think we'll have to quit and get this stuff organized here. I got it, Hannah. I got it out of. Sorry about that. I'll get it straight. Thank you so much for joining us. Tell your friends about this. More important than getting all the questions answered about the creation and flood and end times, what's going to happen to you? You are going to die one day, and you're going to be dead for an extremely long time. You really ought to pack for lunch for that trip. If you're not sure you're going to heaven, what on earth are you waiting for? Nothing else matters until you get that settled, in my humble opinion. You're going to die and face God, and He's going to be very upset about the things you've done wrong. We're talking about a completely holy, just God. He's not letting anybody into heaven with a single speck on them. If you've got any sin, you don't go. Or we'd ruin His heaven like we've ruined this earth. The only way in there is to be completely perfect. And the only way to get that is to have the righteousness of Christ, who was completely perfect, put onto your account. And that's what He did for me 46 years ago. I said, Lord, I am a sinner. I deserve to go to hell, but I believe You died for me. Would You please save me? And His righteousness was put on my account, on account of I don't have any, and you don't either. So if you're not sure you're going to heaven, all you need to do is believe that Jesus did it for you. He died on the cross. He rose from the dead. And He's willing to come move right inside of you and start changing you from the inside out. There's no magic prayer. But what I did 46 years ago, I said, Lord, I'm a sinner. I believe You died for me. I would like You to forgive me and save me. Would You please come into my heart? And something changed. It's like a seed got planted and it started growing, and He wants to grow in you. Why not today, August 15th, 2015? No better time. Right now, say, Lord, Kent's right. I'm going to be dead for a really long time. I would like to accept Your payment for my sin. I'm not going to heaven because I'm good. Are you kidding? If I got what I deserved, I'd be in as much trouble as you would be, okay? No, I'm going to heaven because Jesus was perfect. And His robe of righteousness is put on me. So when God looks at me Judgment Day, He's going to see Jesus. Hey, come on in. Looks like my son. Some of the guys who know me are going to say, what? He looks like Jesus? No, Lord, you didn't know Him. God's going to say, shut up. Come on in. He looks like my son. He's forgiven. You can have it too. Do that. And then write me and tell me about it. I rejoice over that more than anything. So tell me about it. Love to hear about that. And then once you get yourself straightened out and going to heaven, go tell somebody else about it. That's the joy of the Christian life. Thank you. We'll do more whenever I can. Thank you.